Here to keep the chase going, share information, spread unity, preserve our heritage and our culture. We're trying to achieve something that you just can't catch. We're always trying to find a better way, trying to make better dogs. That's what Dixie Doggers Podcast is. That's who we are.
This episode is brought to you by Rankin Ranch 38 Cattle Company. Marc Rankin specializes in Brahma and Brahma Cross cattle in Oglethorpe County, Georgia. You can contact him at 407-832-2077. 407-832-2077. This episode is also brought to you by Phil Wilson of UC Hunting Properties. If you're buying or selling land, farms, or hunting property, these folks know land. You can contact him at 678-791-3483, 678-791-3483, or visit his website down below in the description.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's New Year's Day 2025. This has been it's been a long day, and it has been I'm not going to say stressful day, but it's just been a long day for the New Year's Day. We have a wonderful guest with us tonight. I met this woman, I don't know, it's been quite a few years ago now, and she has this little dog named Roach. And that's what really keyed me in right there. I seen that little dude, and he worked his ass off at everything he done. Phenomenal little York Terrier. And so from there, we talked. I've seen her at some terrier trials and stuff, her and her husband. This is Miss Hannah Dahl. Hannah, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We are still alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here.
That's about it. So, like I said, it's just, for some of the listeners out there that might not know who you are, you want to give them a little backstory on who you are and what all you do?
Sure. My name is Hannah Dahl. I live in Northern Kentucky. Burlington is the city. I'm a falconer, and I have some hunting dogs that I've collected over the years. I have 2 York Terriers, a English Cocker Spaniel, a mini Dachshund who's more like a pet dog, and then a coonhound that I've been training this year. It's our first year, my first coonhound.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about a while ago. It's like you're coming. Looks like you're doing really good with her. Like you said, good genetics helps.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. But luckily, I have lots of people that I'm constantly pestering to ask advice for.
Yeah, there you go.
The internet's a nice thing that I can have so many people at my disposal.
Yeah, that's a plus. That's a huge plus. So,
for sure.
What got you into let's back up to where you got into hunting, and what got you started hunting, and
okay,
what you started hunting with.
Sure. So I, never hunted at all. I think I went coon hunting a couple times in high school with, some random people, but that was really the extent of hunting I ever did. I learned I saw somebody flying a hawk driving down the road, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that? So I went on a deep dive of what's falconry and stuff like that. And the laws are it's kind of a pain in the butt to get started into falconry. So there, you got to pass a test and you have to have a sponsor. So it was at the time I was like, okay, this probably, I'll have to put this on the back burner for a few years. So that was kind of in high school. After I graduated, I started getting more interested in falconry again. And I was like, you know what, let's just go for it. So nobody else in my family hunted. I basically started falconry, and that's the first introduction I had. I just mainly hunted rabbits and squirrels with my red-tailed hawk. And I did pretty good, and, I really liked it. I had 2 little dachshunds at the time that I would sometimes take out, hunting with me, But I kept seeing people with York Terriers, and I'm like, oh, those are really cool dogs. I really like them, I'd met a couple in person at falconry meets, but I was kind of a little intimidated by, a reputation of York Terriers. Yeah. And so I kind of put that off. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to deal with this, People made him seem to be, super crazy and, all that. So I just kept hunting with my little dachshunds and my hawk. And then finally I was like, you know what? I started training pet dogs professionally, and I basically worked from home. Um, and I was like, I have the time now to put into like, a hunting dog full time. And then luckily I got offered a puppy from Jay Wolub, which is Roach's breeder, just to see how his dogs would do like in falconry. So, and that kind of was the start of me hunting with dogs. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, I hunted squirrels with him first, and then, he got into other stuff. So then we started hunting other stuff.
Yeah, I imagine he did get into some other stuff.
Yeah, he did.
Now that Jay has been messing with them dogs for bukus of years and years, decades, and I don't know that I've ever heard of anyone say anything negative about any dog that's come from Jay Wolub.
Yeah,
and I knew when I seen Roach, I mean, I was just kind of struck by him. He's a looker.
And I think he was a puppy at the first trial that I went to. He was like 8 months, I think.
I believe he was 8 months old. I was going to say 8 or 10 months old, but I'm pretty sure he was 8. And he just showed out like he did good. And he had a good handle on him. He had a good handle. And that's what I really liked about him. I was like, he's got some sense, because I have some, which mine, they don't really participate well. They want to catch everything. And they do have their moments, But,
and he's like that too. But he's definitely the smartest dog that I own. I did a lot of obedience stuff with, fun obedience stuff with him when he was a puppy, like the clicker training, like, teach him tricks and like retrieving. And I think that sort of translated over to like him. He just like understands things quickly, just he knows how to think. Of course, when he gets, over threshold, he's just like in like a psycho mode, but for the most part, he's very cool-minded and just like a fun dog to have.
All right. So when you had Roach, you got into the falconry. Well, you got in the falconry, then you had Roach, and then what was your next dog that you got?
So I had Roach a couple years, and then I ended up with my second Yacht Terrier, Heidi, which is his litter mate, because she ended up in a shelter, and that's like a whole story. But long story short was her owner was arrested for trying to like booby trap a house when police came for
oh wow,
she was like serve a warrant. So he was arrested, and she was put in a shelter. And then Mr. Mills was like, that dog looks familiar, and so we put 2 and 2 together of what the dog was. So I was like, I'll pull her from the shelter and I'll find her home. And then here it is, like 3 years later, she's still here.
I remember that now. I couldn't remember if it was you that had acquired the dog. I'll put it this way, I didn't know it was Heidi. But I remember the story. And I couldn't remember who got the dog, because I said, this dog is serious. This dog knows how to do stuff.
Yeah. So with her, that's how she was more like, I started using her with like groundhogs, and then the 2 of them on like coons. They kind of became like a little pair. So it's nice. She's kind of quirky. I'm not really sure of her background too much before I got her, but she's ended up, fitting in well. So my husband liked her. So we ended up keeping her.
And so how's your husband fit in with all this stuff? Do you let Austin hunt any?
I do. He likes to go hunt and he likes to go out with the dogs, but he's usually like working. I can say I'm pretty spoiled because I train dogs from home, so I can, I've got all the time in the world to go out, during the day and stuff. And he really likes animals, so I got lucky there. So he doesn't put too much of he's not like too upset whenever I bring home another puppy.
He doesn't like throttle you down like, no.
He shakes his head and he's like, oh my God. And then I just, I hand him a puppy and he's like soft.
It's all better now. Okay. Yeah.
Once you hand him the puppy, then it's fine. But that's why you can't tell him beforehand. You got to have the puppy. So you got to have the cute right there.
Yes. Instant gratification.
Yeah.
That's how it was with my English Cocker.
Yeah, now that's another one right there. Now,
I almost forgot about that one.
Well, I don't know if I've ever seen that one in person.
Probably not. I got her like the start of 2020. when she was a puppy. I got her March of 2020, and then 2 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant with my now 4-year-old. So that was like, say great timing on my part. So yeah, I got her, and she's a great little dog. She's very busy. She's a typical cocker, and she has a great like natural retrieve and is birdy. But honestly, where I'm at, we don't have a ton of like bird hunting for her. So she's done like some dove hunting, and she just runs around with the terriers. She'll jump in on she'll kind of jump in and get like a bite in on like a groundhog or a raccoon, but for the most part, she's just there.
Yeah, they're high energy.
Oh yeah, I thought a terrier was high energy until I got a cocker, and that thing, they're nonstop. They're just busy. But luckily they listen really well. So like if I tell her to go lay down, she listens and goes lay down. But if I let her do whatever, she's just gonna pace around and find things to pick up and bring to you, because they're like such. It was very different than a terrier personality. I was not ready for.
Yeah, they're different.
Kind of stuck up your butt all the time.
My mom and my dad, they raised some when I was younger, and I think I was probably about 12, 13 years old when they had the last litter that they had, and then we kind of got away from them for a while, and then for my 15th or 16th birthday, I can't remember, I wound up getting a little pup, and we named him Cookie. And I had that dog, man. That was, like you said, he's under your butt constantly. And they were all registered English cockers, and they were phenomenal little dogs. Like it's exactly what you just described. They were in on everything, but they were never fully committed. Like in the fight part, like you said, they'll get them a little bite, then they back up.
Yeah, she's funny. And like if I want like a nice like relaxed hunt, like I don't have to put any collars on her. Like I couldn't lose that dog if I tried. She stays like the typical spaniel range of like, I'm just gonna, work out in front of you. But if I use her for falconry too, like rabbits and squirrel, like she does pretty good on squirrels. I was surprised. But if I want to just go out and not put like a GPS on my dog, and I just want to hunt more like urban areas where it's like patches between like industrial areas, then I'll bring the cocker, just because I know she's not gonna take off after a cat or just anything crazy. I can just I don't have to worry too much. And she's still fun. But
that's cool.
I definitely like the terriers.
So
I feel like you either you hate them or you love them.
Yes. And you can do both, because I do that pretty much daily.
Yeah, that they're like the biggest pain in my ass, but also my favorite dog. So I don't know. It's like an abusive relationship, I think, with my terriers.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I've been going through it for many years, and probably need to go to some kind of rehabilitation program, because I can't get away from them.
I know, yeah. You love them, but
so with the falconry. Give us a rundown on how all that works for some listeners who aren't familiar with the process of what all you have to do to become a falconer, and then go over how a hunt goes, and give us a story or something like that.
Perfect. So like every state's a little bit different on their like regulations. But like in Kentucky, you have to pass a written test. So the game warden comes and he just gives you a paper test. You take it and you have to pass with like 80% or something along those lines. And then you have to have a inspection done of your mews, which is basically like your outdoor enclosure that you would keep your bird of prey in. So like mine's like a 8x10 like wood enclosed thing in my backyard. So they got to come past that. They got to like mark that you have certain equipment, like a scale and just little things like that. And then you have to have a sponsor, which is somebody that's been a falconer for like, they're at least like a general license or up, so that you have an apprentice, a general, and then like a master falconer. So they have to be like a general falconer, just basically saying that they like will vouch for you and sort of like mentor you for your first, 2 years. It's like 2 years, 2 like hunting seasons worth. So they sort of like help you trap your bird and kind of work with you on like training it and, taking out hunting and stuff like that. So where I'm at, We mostly have like, I like hunting squirrels. Like that's kind of where like my niche has been with like falconry. That's what I got the most of, So with falconry, you kind of want to hunt a bird that you're going to be able to readily have game for. So where I'm at, that's, rabbits, squirrels. I like, just being able to walk out my door and having, access to things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, after you get all your license and stuff, you can like trap your first bird. And honestly, like from like trap to first hunt is like, it can be like almost like 2-3 weeks from like this bird has went wild to this bird's like free flying coming back to you.
Wow.
So it's like it's super impressive to like watch. Once they figure out that like you provide like an easy meal, it's kind of like, okay, I'll stick around with this person.
Huh.
So you sort of get them trained to coming back. In the beginning, I used to train them like to come back to the glove a whole bunch, but nowadays, like if I can get you to come back to a lure, which is like I feed them up on the lure a lot, so when they see that, that's like a jackpot. Like, oh, I really want it. I just go out hunting. As long as I know I can like get you back somehow, then we're just gonna go hunting. And because the faster you get out hunting and the more they like have opportunities to catch game with you, that just reinforces them like, okay, this person produces game, so I'm going to follow you and like watch to see what you're doing instead of a bird getting bored and flying off, and then that does happen. They're still wild animals and they have free will. They can just fly off if they want.
Yeah, that's why I never understood that. I was like, man, it seems like it's a pretty quick process to get them to come back.
Yeah,
I didn't know if it was just their need for dependency like that, or if they were just really that intelligent, or what. That's always intriguing.
I wouldn't say they're like very like intelligent necessarily, but they're more like they're opportunists. That they're like, okay, they like food, and that's they like food and they like hunting, so they'll come back when you provide that. It's not really like a relationship with a dog,
Okay.
but it's still it's like a symbiotic relationship. So whenever I take my bird out hunting, you kind of introduce them beforehand, like with the dog. So, because at first they're, like in their mind, like a dog is scary, like that's a predator to them. So you have to get them used to like eating around a dog. And, so I usually feed my bird like on the lure with the dogs like around. So the bird like learns like, okay, they're not really pestering me too much. Roach is good with the hawk because he's, he's been there, done that. So I don't really have to worry too much about him. Like this year, my bird, like the hound, sort of is just big and dumb. And so she would just like get too close to the bird eating, and the bird would like smack her on the nose and she'd yelp and run away, but then she'd come right back because the bird, I think that's just, they're just kind of dumb. But so once they are like, okay, the dog's not going to eat me. When we go on like the first hunt, I just let the bird go in the woods and flies up to a tree, and I just start like looking for squirrels. So I kind of like walk through the woods. Ideally, the bird follows you like tree to tree above, so they kind of have a vantage point of looking for prey too. Wow. Where I'm at, we have a lot of like trees with vines on them, so I'll like basically you run through the woods like a madman.
To get them
not
to
really
move?
running, but yeah, you're trying to get squirrels to move, so you're like shaking vines, or like a lot of people walk through the woods with like a stick that they like will hit the tree trunks with, just to kind of you want the squirrel to move so the bird can see it. They're kind of like a T-Rex on Jurassic Park, where like if the squirrel's staying really still on the tree, the bird will like not really see it, sort of.
Yeah.
So you want the squirrel to keep moving so the bird like keeps like focused on it. So, and the squirrels, you realize they're pretty smart when it comes to evading hawks. So they'll kind of move the opposite side of the tree that the hawk's on, and you see them pull out some pretty cool stunts when trying to get away from the hawk. They'll like jump, they'll totally just bail out of the tree from the very top, and you think like they'll definitely be dead when they hit the ground, but no, they kind of like, they almost like they just land and they just keep running. So
just splat, then they go.
Yep. Yeah, it's almost like they flatten their body a little bit to sort of slow it down, and then they hit the ground and just keep running, which that's where a dog comes in handy, because the dog can if the bird hits the ground and misses, because the bird's going to dive out of the tree and try to grab it, a lot of times they miss because, their squirrels are fast. So the dogs will typically chase the squirrel, and you can find where it went, if it went up another tree or if it went like in a hollow log or something like along the lines of that. So we just kind of, try to set the bird up for success. And the more, they catch stuff, the more they look towards you and towards the dog and like, okay, these people and this animal's like helping me catch game. So eventually the bird and the dog will just like take off on their own, and you're just kind of left behind, trying to fight through like all the thorns. And you're like, okay, I guess I'm just going to be way back here because they figure out the game.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Like I said, I didn't really know how and I've talked to several falconers, but
Yeah.
I always kind of wondered that. I was like, how much is it of the bird just flying through the woods and picking up on game, or, how much are you helping the bird to get the game to move? I like that, because I was thinking
so
to
a lot of
myself,
times.
no, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. So the bird does sometimes pick up on things like from a distance that like you're not going to see. So a lot of times I'm kind of following where the bird's going, like, oh, maybe they saw something in the tree. But ideally, you want the bird to kind of stick with you and look for you flushing the game versus like, chasing them, down through the woods because they might have saw something. So it's kind of you play off of each other a little bit, I feel like.
I got you.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And like you said, it's one of those relationships where it's like the bird's not dependent on you, but it's you're working together. And the dog, everybody works together. Now, I know there's going to be people that's curious about it, and I've been curious about it before. How many times has Roach ever been caught?
By the hawk?
Yeah.
Really not too much. So his biggest issue, like if the bird catches a squirrel and like lands on the ground, he wants to run in on it and, obviously try to get the squirrel too. So he's had a few learning instances of he's had a talon to the face quite a few times. I try to, as soon as I see the bird coming down, I try to like Roach, no. And so I'll try to like, if I have like his collar on, I'll just go ahead and give him like a preemptive like a little correction, if I can see where he's at, but yeah, he knows better, but he's still gonna try sometimes. He's got a pretty good corneal ulcer one time from getting a talon to the face trying to reach in on a squirrel. Wow. Versus my spaniel, I couldn't. I gotta force her into close proximity to the hawk. But the terrier is going to always kind of push it a little bit, just because everyone's adrenaline's pumping. The hawk, my adrenaline, the dog. So everyone's, like, oh, we got to hurry up and get to the squirrel, because the squirrels will bite the crap out of the hawk's feet. So you want to try to hurry up and get up there and like grab the squirrel and make sure the bird's got a good hold, because if not, they can do some like damage to a hawk toe.
Yeah, I've also wondered about that. I'm glad you brought that up, about how much, what kind of gear do you have to have to do falconry, like equipment, basically?
Like the pure, like the most basic stuff is like, that bird obviously has like anklets around its, legs where I can hook it up to if I need to. I typically fly without any jesses, which are like the little strings that hang down that people hold on to. I feel like when hunting squirrels, they kind of get in the way a little bit, so I just pull those out. So we just fly with no jesses. And then I do have the bird, like, have a little GPS on her that I can like tie in. I kind of screw it into where her anklet is, so I can see where she's at on like a map on my phone, which is nice. I used to have the regular radio antenna one where it would just put out a signal. So if I had to find my bird, I had to like pull out a giant like antenna and sort of like it would beep which direction she was at. And I would, so I've gotten spoiled with the GPS is very nice to have. I can just glance at an app and see where she's at.
Yeah, I didn't know they had it for those, because it's like, running hog dogs and hunting dogs, most of us deal with Garmin. And then they have Dogtra. And we've been talking about Dogtra ourselves, but like I said, those I had no idea that they had the GPS for the hawks too.
Yeah, the brand's called Marshall. It's kind of, the only brand GPS that we have in the US for falconry. They've kind of cornered the market on that, over
That's
here.
awesome.
But, in the in Europe and the Middle East, they have some other options, but really that's what we got. And it's nice, I switched from the Dogtra to the Garmin mainly because I didn't the time that I had a Dogtra, it was an app on my phone also, and I didn't want to switch back and forth between apps. So that's when I was like, all right, I'm just gonna bite the bullet, and I got a Garmin.
There you go.
So I can have, a button if they're ready. I want to have a button just in case, especially with the terrier if I need to.
Yeah, that's
catches attention a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta. With those terriers, you got to be quick on the draw.
And timing's everything.
That. Yeah, because if you do it too late, then what didn't do any good.
Yeah.
You also sent the wrong message. The dog's like, I don't know what I did. That's if it's too late.
No, yeah, and luckily, the terriers are pretty forgiving when it comes to that. I've learned that that's not so. When I trained pet dogs for a long time, so the hound is I've learned that the hound's very much slow to mature versus a terrier's ready to go. They think they can take on anything at 6 months old.
Yeah.
Versus the hound, I'm this thing is a lot more slow maturing. And I honestly haven't had a big dog in a very long time. So I'm used to all these little small
I bet that
crazy dogs.
I bet that is a big difference. It was for us because we transitioned from all terriers, which we would have a bulldog, for our catch dog, and which our terriers would catch too. They had no problems. They were just small, and so now we run a lot of Kurt. Oh yeah, they were gonna try it. That's for sure. I had a guy one time ask me because my catch dog, she was my pet. She's my buddy, and I could just snap my finger and say, okay, leave it alone, sit right here. We'd catch a hog and she would sit right beside it, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, can you do those little terriers like that? I was like, no. No.
Yeah.
He was like, you have a game dog that you can turn off. I said, yes, but you can't turn them off. I don't know what's wrong with them. I said, they are insane. And, they would just get so fired up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I wanted. That's what we wanted.
It's fun. You kind of sign up for that.
Yes.
That's I tell people that see Roach at terrier trials. I'm this is not how he is all the time. At terrier trials, he's completely jacked, out of his mind. And because they know he's been to terrier trials he's 6 now.
Yeah.
So he knows what goes on. So he's just completely out of his mind. But I'm I promise he's not like this all the time. He's a house dog, but all my dogs are house dogs, also. So I usually require at least a little bit of manners around here.
Well, yeah, you have to when you have that many of them. If you've got more than one, or if you got more than one, they got to have some handle. And if you've got more than 2, then you definitely have to have manners.
We'll be back after a quick break.
And now, thanks to the sponsors and friends of Dixie Doggers. Animal Housing Solutions.
Boars N Broads.
Crockett Taxidermy.
Hardcore Hog Dogs.
Southern Cross Cut Gear.
Ada Y Transport.
4L Kennels.
The American Doghorn Museum.
Unique Hound and Hunting Supply.
Hogbaying.com.
Tuskers Magazine.
Mud Creek Hog Dog Trials.
Yeah, I can't imagine. 2's my limit, I think, at York Terriers at one time. Yeah. And I have a male and a female. I don't think I'd want to have, 2 males or 2 females. They get along really well, so I can't say, some people don't have that luxury.
No, that would be pretty cool. All mine, they would, when they were on a hunt, we didn't really have any issues. But if they weren't busy,
focused, yeah.
If they were not focused on something, they were going to focus on each other.
Yeah, that's I feel my dogs, like, well, when I first got Heidi, she was like, the shelter like labeled her as super dog aggressive. You know, they were like wanting her out of the shelter. They're like, somebody, I don't care who, somebody come get this dog out of here. Because I can only imagine, you know, like
Yeah.
if she was in a kennel and any dog walking past, I'm sure she was just like slamming into that, you know, fence. So the first time I brought her home, I just slapped a GPS on her and I just like let her off leash with all my dogs. And I was like, I'm just going to watch her. I think I gave her one like good correction for going after my spaniel. And then she was fine, you know, off leash. I think it's just they get frustrated and then
Yes.
they, you know, act out. But once she realized, okay, you know, I can run free. And I just like immediately took her out to the woods with Roach. I'm like, you know, we're going to see, let you have some time to decompress. And she's been fine since then. She gets a little like bitchy towards him at times, but he like tolerates it really well. So I think if he had a different personality, it wouldn't be as easy, but you know, he just takes it. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he's got a really good personality. Like I said, I've seen him at the trials, and just like, you know, even though there's a lot of times where he's amped up and he's keyed up. Well, all of our dogs are.
Yeah.
He still has manners. You know, he still knows how to act for the most part.
Yeah.
Most all of them there. You know, and I don't want to say it in a way to offend anybody else out there that's listening that's been
Mhm.
there. But it's kind of like a fun day for us. You know,
Yeah.
you get guys like say me and Jason Schweitzer. All we did was strictly hog hunt them.
Yeah.
So we would let them, you know, mess with a raccoon or do the tree contest or do the go to ground. Any other time, they were actually being corrected in the field for this.
Yeah. You're like, all right, you guys get it out now.
That's right, and we would let them do it. And you know what? It never seemed to matter when we were hunting. Like they didn't revert and go back to just digging in a hole.
Mhm.
If we put them on hog tracks, they finished the job. Now, if there weren't any hogs there, we're going to catch something. I promise you that. I don't know what it is, but we're going to catch it.
Yeah, they're gonna find. That's how, you know, I started hunting other stuff because Roach was like, you know, I'm gonna pull a possum.
Yeah,
I'm flying the bird. I'm gonna, you know, pull a possum out of a hole, and so
and that's
we
fun.
just, you know, moved on to that. When he was a puppy, he somehow found a coon like in a hollow tree, and I like yanked him away, luckily. And I'm like, you're not ready for that. He thought he was, and then so I kind of waited, you know, and then I was like, all right, now we're gonna start doing other stuff. Whenever I didn't fly a bird, I was like, and he seems smart. Like he knows like if we're flying a bird or if we're just like looking for other stuff, you know.
Yeah.
He'll like stick with the bird and like look for. He's not dipping into holes constantly when I'm flying the bird, which is nice. So he can kind of differentiate what we're doing, because that would be, you know, I obviously wouldn't hunt him with the bird if I'm trying to pull him out of a hole
That's right.
you know, every 5 minutes. I'm trying to get him out, yelling at him.
I think people, they don't give dogs enough credit for stuff like that to differentiate.
Hmm.
And the reason I say that is like we've got dogs that, like Nathan's got a Kimmer cur that we do everything with him, and he can tell the difference. Like if you put his vest on, his you know, he knows we're going to hog hunt. If you get out and you keep him on the leash and you just start walking around, he knows we're going to go track a deer. If you don't put the vest on and you have his collar on and we let him walk with us, he knows that we're probably squirrel hunting or coon hunting. Like he can differentiate.
Yeah, I think, they're definitely, they're smart enough.
Yeah.
People don't give them enough credit for that, but I've noticed I can definitely tell. And I honestly, I hadn't flown Roach with a hawk in like a year. And then I took him out recently with the hawk and he was just right back, you know, immediately right back to where he was before. And he was flushing rabbits and like, he was like voicing after him, chasing the rabbits. I'm like, who is this dog?
Super dog.
Yeah, they're fun. That's why I like the terriers. You can do whatever with them. I feel like they're always up for absolutely anything.
And they will spoil you though, because like you said, you get those dogs, you get dogs like Roach and Heidi, and all you got to do is just go put them outside, and the game's on. You know, it's happening. But then you get like you get like the coonhound. You like there's a process to it.
There was
it's a little different.
Yeah, they're definitely what. Yeah, I feel like Roach basically taught himself. Roach already knew how to hunt, and then I was kind of like, oh, I guess this is what I'm doing now. I guess this is my life now.
Yeah.
I was having fun, so I didn't. I just liked it, and I kept, helping facilitate him like catching other game, like groundhogs and like coons. So, uh, yeah, that's sort of he just like stumbled into that, and I'm like, this is fun. And then with the hound, it's almost like I almost put too much thought into it
Yeah.
with the hound. It was a different process for sure.
So, you said you're still training her. It's a female,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yeah, she just turned 1
I
a
got
couple days ago. Yeah, she's been a lot of fun. I never had a hound. I've never even owned a hound, So I got her for my birthday last February. And just kind of it's kind of, I get her in February. Obviously, it was kind of a long time until our hunting season started, like October 1st, I think. I think that one is when it technically starts. But I had her out in the woods before then. I had her like some like caged coons that I would let her like bark at and holler at and get her kind of build some drive up, and she had it. Terriers, I feel like they are the drive, like, I feel like the hound was like, she was like almost like a little nervous of the coon at first, and she would holler at it. And then I'm just imagining like Roach when he was a puppy, he was like trying to bite the cage.
Yeah.
It's just a little different. So I had to do a lot more like drive building with the hound, like, dragging dead raccoon. I was like picking up dead raccoons off the road. I'm like, this looks fresh. I'm just
Mhm.
I'm like, this looks fresh. I just scooped it up. I'm like, I hope no cars are seeing me do this, but whatever. I was like, my puppy needs it.
That's awesome.
Uh,
My little
yeah.
niece, she's got a little Kimmer cur, and that's what she was doing. I got tickled at her. She was like, well, I've been trying to catch a squirrel and I couldn't catch one and, live trap it. She said, so I seen one run over by the school. And she said, and I jumped out and I got it. And I was like, you did what? She's like, yeah, I got me a dead squirrel. So now I can let my puppy bark at it. And I was like, you know what, baby, you just go ahead. Cause what's Emma, 12?
Yeah, I believe she's 12.
I think she's 12 years old. So I was like,
Some character building.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of, and I already kind of would have hopped out before for like roadkill for like hawk food. I'm like, I'm not gonna, that was like a fresh rabbit. I'm gonna hop out and grab it and feed it to the hawk. But yeah, that was the first time I'm like pulling like a giant raccoon off the side of the road, and I'm like, someone's probably gonna be posting me to some neighborhood group on Facebook.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, and these neighborhood groups, they're out of hand anyway.
They are.
We had several years ago, there was a guy that was working for me, and we stopped at I don't remember if we stopped at a pawn shop or it might have been the boot store. But anyway, it was right there in that area. And there was this little Chester drawers that was sitting out beside this, like a dumpster or one of the thrift store boxes or something, And it wasn't even touching it. It was sitting out beside it. And he said, do you care if I get that? He said, I just strip it down and repaint it. And it looked great. I was like, I don't care. He was like, well, I had to put it in the back of the truck. I said, look, I don't care. So we pulled over there, right? He puts it in the back of the truck. When I get home, I am Facebook famous. Dude, they had pictures of my truck all over. And they were like, these people are out here. They're picking up these donated items items that people donate. And we know what they're doing. They're putting it on Marketplace and reselling it. And I was like, that's not even what happened. I was laughing. I was like, you know what? I even commented on there. I said, people like that, I said, they should be put in jail. And I just kept it going. I egged it on. My wife was like, why are you doing that? I was like, it's my truck.
Yeah.
And Kelly, she was like, no. I was like, yeah, look at it. And she's like, oh, had a big old boar head in the back that said Dixie Doggers over it. I was like, well, you know what? That's what nosy people get.
Yeah, you can't look away. You just read the post. You're like, this is crazy. That's like so my in-laws farm where I hunt the dogs a lot is like, it's gotten so like built up where I'm at. It's like their farm and then it's like subdivisions all around it. So
Right.
like whenever I take the hound out, like I might not, so like I kind of purposely will like start where like the opposite side that's close to this one neighborhood, and so like I let her go. Once she starts howling, you just hear like a whole chorus of dogs in this neighborhood just start like barking, and you hear people yelling at their dogs, and I just kind of laugh.
Yeah.
They're probably getting all upset, and there's like a big, and she's loud. So there's
Oh, I
like a big
bet.
hound dog, and so all the dogs in this neighborhood are barking. So I've just been waiting for the day that I'm gonna see a post on there.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, we're gonna have to have a homeowners association meeting about this woman and her
Yep.
dog.
Like, hey, well, I'm not in the neighborhood, so you guys can just suck it up.
Yeah. That
But
I don't know how some people can live in like the suburbs, I guess, and live in
hmm
and be able to do the things that I do. There's no way. It just would never work. So my hat's off to anybody that can do that and maintain a relationship and have hunting dogs and to juggle all that. I'm like, wow, that's impressive to me.
yeah, we've got a lot of urban, because I live south of Cincinnati, so it's like, we have like pretty rural areas, but for the most part, it's pretty busy where I'm at. So luckily I have like connections with a lot of like farm owners, so I can hunt their properties. And then we have some like public hunting areas, but Kentucky doesn't really have like too many like nice like public land. So I just make do.
Yeah, I mean, and that's honestly that's what it takes to make a good dog is you just got to make do and you got to just get them out there and hunt them.
Yeah, which is I've realized like the hound was nice because I've got a 4-year-old and an almost 2-year-old, so like I just take her out after they're in bed, and then like Austin's usually like we'll swap off, So if he's like home, then I'm like, all right, I'm taking the taking the hound out. So it's kind of it's kind of nice. It's easier to do with the kids than during the day.
Yeah, I
They're
bet.
sleeping. Yep.
Yeah, I was, that's what I told you earlier. I was going kind of curious of how all that was working with, being married with children and being able to be in the woods and to hunt as much as you do. It's like, because there's a lot of guys out there that do this, but they
Yeah.
have their spouse to help them and take care of the kids and all that,
hmm
nobody ever really thinks when the shoe's on the other foot.
Yeah, it's definitely, you don't realize how good you got it like before you have kids, of how like easy it is to just
Yeah.
up and go and do whatever, I could say I'm pretty lucky though, because I've, been working for myself for like the last 5 years. So kind of had that, so I can make my own like money, dog money, dog spending money. And then I have a lot of family close that's, they're always more than willing to like babysit during the day if I need to drop a kid off for a little bit. My mother-in-law is basically retired, so if I hunt on their farm, I can just, here's the kids, and I can just like walk out into the woods. So that's
Yeah.
always, I've got like a good setup going on.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it sounds like a good setup for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely, well, it's really important to me. Like I like to still keep my like hobbies, after having kids, especially with like 2 little ones. Like obviously I can't do as much as I did before, but they're only little for a little bit,
Yep.
So
That's
we're kind of making do. Yeah. So, and luckily, like, yeah, I've got Austin's pretty good that I can say like, oh, I'm going to go out to a terrier trial this weekend and drive to South Dakota or Texas,
Yep.
We just went to.
He seems like he's a really solid guy and he's really supportive.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, no complaints there.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we went to
you go to South
the
Dakota?
Texas.
Oh, you
Yeah,
Texas.
we went.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to all of them this year.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I didn't go to any, and that sucks.
I know. I didn't see you guys.
I know, man. We have been we've just been busy is one thing, and then like I don't really have any young dogs right now. All my stuff's old, and
Yeah.
so it's like, man, if I had a pup or something like that, it might be a little different. But not just that. I just miss going and seeing everybody. It's like kind of our time that we can, get to see people and kind of catch up.
Yeah, that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the dog stuff, it's like fun, it's just fun things that we do with the dogs, but it's like my favorite part's like hanging out with everybody and,
Yep.
seeing everybody and seeing their dogs. And yeah, in Texas, I was like, oh, I'm not going to do the hog bay. Like, I already know what Roach is going to do. Like, I was like, I'm not going to do
Gangster.
it. And then I got like peer pressured in, and he did exactly what I knew he was going to do.
No
And
way.
just got his ass handed to him, and he loved every second of it. But I'm like, boy, you're 6 years. That's old for a York Terrier. You're 6.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, he had a great time. I was like, stomach was in my throat the whole time. Like, oh, this
Oh, I
is not.
bet.
But I mean, it's still fun, and he had fun. But yeah, it was. I can say I'm glad that we don't have any hogs where I'm at, because I probably he would probably not be alive at this point.
It's hard to keep them alive on hogs a lot of times. I've got one out here now, and Dagger's 10 years old. And the only reason he's that old is because the last 4 or 5 years he hasn't been hunted. It's
Yeah.
like, you got to keep him alive to preserve the blood, because I'm telling you, he's not going to cooperate in the woods. And Oscar,
Yeah.
we sent Oscar to Mr. Kiefer in North Carolina, and he runs him on some bear. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's always a chance that something bad could happen, but
Yeah, for
they're
sure.
treeing game instead of hand-to-hand combat every time. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can only imagine. Every time that I've been to the hog bay with him, I'm like this. I'm glad that I don't have any pigs, but I'm sure he would, have a very great, fulfilled, short life if we had pigs.
yeah, Roach would definitely. I would.
Yeah,
I would definitely
sometimes
like to
he's a
take
little
him.
too cocky, but
Yeah. I remember
yeah.
that's one of the things I told you. I was like, he needs to come hog hunting with me, because he really liked it.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, he had a great time. He immediately grabbed on, and this last pig, it shook him like a rag doll.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, this is great." I'm like, "Oh my God."
Oh yeah, he loves it. And that's the thing about those dogs. Like, you can't make them want to do this. They just want to do it.
Yeah, they love it. It's crazy. Just like such a little dog has so much,
Yeah.
crazy in him.
And I've seen a lot of really big dogs that they're supposed to be badasses, but they get whooped a little bit and they'll quit, and
Yeah.
not all of them, but I have seen a few over the years, and I'm thinking, I got a 15-pound jag over there that's just wearing it out, and here you are, a 50-pound whatever, and you don't want to do shit. It's like, no.
Yeah, that's why I say if most like York Terriers, if like their average weight was like 50 pounds, then they'd be illegal.
Yeah. Well, that's what we
They would be.
doing with the high terrier stuff. It let me tell you, that changed a lot of things with us, because it was like literally having a 50-pound York Terrier that had a good handle all the time. And so I was like, these are seek and destroy missiles right here. And, they really do work really well. And we still have them, and I will always have them. But they're not for the faint of heart in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I'm perfectly happy with my 18-pound.
Yes.
My 18-pound, 19-pound little crazy dog. Yeah, I can.
If I didn't hog hunt, I wouldn't worry with the bigger dogs. You know what I mean? But the bigger dogs do better. They really do. I caught a lot of hogs with the smaller dogs, and I'll put them up against anything. But it is like, they do seem to have a shorter lifespan.
Yep.
And it's hard on them.
It's almost like, the smaller they are, the more like no self-preservation. Oh my gosh. Preservers? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Preservation.
Yeah, preservation. Right? I don't know. Yeah,
right.
My brain is not.
You got me thinking now. I'm like, shit, I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, so it's like almost like the smaller they are, the cockier they are.
Yes. There's no doubt. All right, so with all these things that we've talked about, what's your favorite way to hunt? I mean, I know it include the dogs, but like, let's say, what's your favorite hunting? Would you rather do the falconry with the dogs, or do you like squirrel hunting with a dog more? Or do you like coon hunting with a dog more, or what?
I would say probably my favorite is falconry with the dogs because it's like a whole lot of moving parts, and when everything is working together, it's like really nice to experience, like to seeing the dog work and the bird work and all of that fitting together is like more fun for me because I can see how they interact, see like
Yeah.
how the bird is working, like how they do like in nature. I get to see the bird up close, like hunting, and then also watching them like interact with the dog and the dog doing its thing is just like, yeah, it's fun when all those parts come together. And then, but I've been having a lot of fun coon hunting with the hounds, so
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
it's kind of up there too.
yeah, I was going to say, we've been following Instagram and stuff on your social media stuff. And I could see, I said, she really likes this coon hunting stuff. So,
Yeah, it's fun. It was it's a little scary walking around the woods at nighttime by myself, but usually if I can sucker a friend into going with me,
yeah.
then that's always better. So I'm not just wandering around in the woods. It's okay at first, and then I'm like, all right, I'm just standing here, it's dark.
Yeah.
There's nothing around. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, like being able to watch her, like on the map and just like hear her like howling through the woods at night. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. Especially when it's out there and it's just silent as it can be and it's cold.
Oh
and it's a
yeah,
good,
like
clear
recently.
night, and then she just opens up and locates. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was the other night, like the last time we went out, it was like the night was like the sky was like so nice. I was like, this is like it's like kind of therapeutic.
Yeah.
I saw like a cute little owl in a tree and I'm just like walking through the woods. Yeah, it was nice. Just like some quiet away from like the everyday.
That's right. I think that's why a lot of people do stuff like that is, they find solace in it, solitude.
Mhm.
They can kind of, like you said, just take a break from the everyday hustle and bustle and just chill. And then when all the parts line up and everything works right, there's the satisfaction. And then you have the gratitude part of it to where it's like it all came together. It was a good night.
Mhm.
Everything's great. You get to go home and you get to sleep and you wake up and you're ready to go for the next day.
Yeah, and
So,
it's nice knowing like, okay, my dog's nice and worn out. They like, they feel fulfilled, like they, did what they're bred to do, and like you can go home and then they like nap hard.
yes.
And it's just, yeah, it's kind of a nice feeling.
I made that comment today. I believe it was today. It was on Instagram. And there's some guys that it's endurance kennels. They do sled dogs.
Mhm.
And I want to say, I'm trying to look it right quick because, like I said, I know I made a comment today on the post, and he had one of their dogs, and it was just like just had its head hanging out of the dog house, snow on the ground, and all that. And I said that dog had the look of accomplishment, satisfaction, the whole thing.
Mhm.
And that's what the guy said. He said, very seldom will you ever see this dog just chill and relax.
Yep.
They had been out on a hard run and a training exercise and really put the brakes on them, really just had the wheels rolling. And then when they came in, the dog just was satisfied and the owner was
Yep.
satisfied. To me, that is a huge thing. When you can look at your dog, like you said, that dog just goes over there and just lays down and he's tuckered out and you're tired too. And you're like, man, we
Mhm.
had a good day.
Yep. And yeah, and it's like a lot of things. Like it's like all the work you've put in from like training up until that point, It's I think a lot of like people would just like pet dogs don't understand that sort of, satisfaction you feel when you have your dog,
Yes.
doing things that they were bred to do, versus, just throwing a ball in the backyard
That's right.
5,000 times.
Because like you said, we can't make these dogs hunt. Like we just, you can't make them. If we could do that, you'd be a billionaire. You could sell hunting dogs. You could take any dog and make it hunt. Well, that doesn't work. And like you said, like the training and all the time and effort that goes into it, you do build a personal relationship with these dogs. I try not to get super attached, but I do. It happens.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, I get attached.
And the older I get, the worse it is now. Cause it's like, man, I want to have 1,000 dogs, I know I can't, but
Yeah.
people that have a pet or a couple of pets, I just don't think that they can ever fully understand what we're doing
hmm
if they've
And
never
I always
done
say, like, if I didn't want to do this stuff with these dogs, I wouldn't have like these particular breeds,
Yes.
just because, yeah, just because I wouldn't be, if I couldn't like fulfill that, then I honestly, I wouldn't really want one. Like, I wouldn't want to live with a Yog Terrier if I didn't hunt it all the time,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
especially the Hound. The Hound, I definitely would not want to live with if I did not like hunt with her. Uh, just she's loud, you know.
And so on the,
I'm trying to imagine a Hound like in a neighborhood backyard,
oh
and
no,
I just feel bad.
there's no way.
No,
I don't see a way.
no.
But now like I said, now I do know a couple of folks that have hunting dogs that live in town. What we call
Yeah, I mean,
what we call in town, and I'm thinking, dude, you are crazy. Like
yeah, it's been.
it's insane.
I just have like where I'm at. We just have like 1 acre, like where my house is, and then but I still have people pretty close. So I have like my main thing is like I gotta get this hound to not, be hollering out. Like I have like some indoor outdoor kennels like on our detached garage where I can put dogs if I need to.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they're like in the house, or like I kind of rotate them through. I don't like when everybody's out at once. It's a little too chaotic, but I'm like, I can't have a hound and then have her just like hollering out in the kennel all day long. So we've done a lot of training on let's be quiet.
That's what I was going to ask you with your background as a trainer. How much of that are you utilizing with this hunting dog, with this hound?
So I did like the typical just like manners in the house sort of thing, like crate manners, like she can be put in a crate and she's quiet, things like that. She does have like a almost perfect internal alarm clock, and I'll hear her. So at nighttime, they're normally crated like in my garage, like below my room. So like almost 8 a.m. on the dot, I can hear like she'll start like whining, and she's still a puppy. But for the most part, I want you to be quiet in the kennel. I want, to not be like jumping on counters in the house. Walk half-ass on a leash. You don't have to be perfect. I don't really care about like, this perfect obedience on this dog. We're not doing stuff like that. I just want you to be okay to live with,
Yeah. I mean,
versus I'm not going to be teaching you sit and down and stay and all this stuff. Like, exactly. I want you to come back when I call, and I want you to be quiet, and I want you to, just hang out.
Yep. No,
That's like, well, Roach knows all the tricks and all the obedience stuff. Like when I got Heidi, the other terrier, I was just like, I want you to come back when I call, and I don't fight with the other dogs. That's like the only 2 things I really focused on her, and that's fine. We go, it's perfectly fine like that.
Yeah. That now we got a little dog in the house, a little small dog, and we have a larger dog as well. And we've had Blue for quite a few years. He's trained very well. The little dog, we didn't have to do anything hardly because he just picked up on what Blue was doing.
Yep.
Basically like you said, come here when I call you, shut up and don't act crazy. If you can control it,
Yeah, my mini dachshund, I don't think she knows how to do absolutely anything. She doesn't know any training commands, but she's the easiest dog I have. She just hangs out, doesn't cause any problems, just sleeps, if she's off leash, she comes back when I call her, and that's all I've really ever cared for.
That's cool.
And I feel like, and when I train people's client dogs, I'm like, well, we're going to focus on like problem behaviors first, because like I want a dog that's, not jumping on me and not like yanking my arm off walking, versus like I'm going to teach him to sit and down and give a paw and roll over. Like to me, that stuff's, you're not using that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Well, but that is an important thing to some people.
Yeah.
Like I like my catch dogs to have a lot of manners, and I like them to know,
for sure.
Know certain things, because those are like they can be very rough dogs. But like I get listeners all the time that they're like, man, how do you train your dogs to do that? And I'm like, I don't know if it's just repetition, like I want them to walk very well on a lead. Actually,
Yeah,
I don't
for
even
sure.
want them on a lead. I want them just to walk beside me.
Yeah, just yell. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want them to get ahead of me at all until I say go. And
Hmm.
that a lot of that's just time and repetition. But as far as like sit and lay down, of course, I'm not worried about all that.
I want some like manners. Like
Yeah,
that's all just sort of like handling in the field.
yeah. What
And
what
then
kind of tips or tricks do you have for our listeners to help with stuff like that you would recommend? As far as like getting a dog to really walk on lead well, to basically like maybe to stay when like opening a dog box, the dog's just blowing out and acting crazy.
oh,
You
for
know,
sure. That's a big one for me, actually, also. Like my dogs, they know, especially like Roach is really good. If I like open my car door and get out, if he's like not in a crate and he's just in my car, and like if I'm like pumping gas, like if I open a door, I don't want you jumping out.
yes,
Like that's dangerous for one. Um, so I did a lot of like threshold control of like, going through doors, like crates, opening up a crate door. If I go to open up a crate door and you try to like immediately run out, I'm shutting it right in your face. And we're gonna do that. Like I'm gonna open it. If you try to running out, I'm just, shutting it back. And then with like once I like have it opened and they're waiting, then I release them. So like I say like free, or people say whatever,
yeah,
people say like okay or break or free, whatever word it means, like okay, you can come out now. But yeah, there was a lot of that in the beginning of just like waiting. I want them like to hesitate sort of, or if we're going out the door, I do that with clients too. Like if you go to open your front door, if your dog tries to run out, we're gonna shut the door. And it's kind of a pain in the ass for you because you're just like sitting there like, playing a game of like opening and shutting the door. But in
yeah,
the long run, it makes a difference. Or if they're
yes,
on
it
a
does.
leash, I'm going to kind of pop the leash back and make them go into a sit and then try to open the door. And then I condition all my dogs like recalling on like a tone, uh, or like a low level stem. So I condition both my dog terriers to like recall on either like a low level tap. Like I honestly don't use like a remote collar to like light them up unless like that's an emergency. But if I have like on a low level, I can just give them like a little tap and I can see them on a map, like just immediately U-turn, which is like really nice to watch. Then I can either tone them or like give them like a little low level like stem and they'll make a U-turn and start like heading back. So I'm not like having to constantly like yell for them out in the
Yes,
woods when they're like 200 yards away or 300 yards away.
yeah,
But
that's
it's like little
good.
things, that end up helping you long run in the field.
Because
Or like with the bird, my dogs know no means like stop whatever you're doing.
yeah,
No means no. So like if running in on a bird, or people are like, well, I want to teach my dog if they're jumping on me to say like down. I'm like, just no. No means stop. Whatever you're doing, stop.
I got you. Yeah, I like
So
that.
yeah.
I really do. I'm the same. I'm pretty much the same way. Just like no,
Yep. It's
whatever it
quick.
is.
It's quick and easy, And then I want my no to like if it I have a follow up, like a remote, like e-collar corrections, like in the beginning. So then when you don't have one, my dog no means I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, I get a lot of people that ask about the e-collar and the corrections, or with the Garmin collar.
Hmm.
And they're like, well, my dog didn't come to me when I called him, and I lit him up. I was like, well,
No, yeah.
yeah. I'm like,
It's important. It's important to teach them, the base, like what it means. You can't imagine just like slapping on a feeling on their neck and expect them to know what the hell that means. They're gonna either get freaked out or they're just gonna like immediately shut down.
yes,
So I I usually teach them like on a long line, so I can, if I'm recalling them, I'm gonna like, I can guide them towards me with a leash, so they're like, oh, okay, this is what it means. So if I'm giving them like a really low level tap where they're like just barely feeling it, and then I can say like, Roach, come, I'm tapping, and then I can pull them towards me with the leash and like, give like a treat. So
yeah,
then they start anticipating like, okay, this means I need to come towards you. Versus people just slap them on and use them to light them up and
yeah,
then expect them to, or like, oh, they didn't come, and then just start shocking them once you get to them. Then in the dog's mind, like, oh, you just like punished them for coming back to you. So
yeah.
it's
I don't
hard,
get that.
and like as a person, you kind of like you understand, but in the dog's mind, they're like, oh, I don't, I just came back to you, and then you ended up shocking me anyways.
Yeah. And that was always my biggest deal there. And I've told so many people, and I'm not the smartest guy in the world by no means. I'm not a trainer, but I've told them, I said, dude, if every time you called me and I walked to you and you smack me, I'm not going to come to you. And
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
well, then what do? And that's what I recommend, putting them on a check line, long line, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's called work.
Yeah, even if you're like pissed off, you got to be like, "Oh, good job." Yeah, I've done
Yes.
that plenty of times. So I'm still like praising them for coming back, but deep down you're still kind of like irritated with them, but you got to kind of think how the dog is, perceiving it.
But there's so many of them that they don't want to do that step. They don't want to put the long line on them and spend 2 or 3 afternoons, a few minutes in the afternoons or an hour or whatever, and do that a few times. And to me, that builds a lot. I mean, you can do much more doing that than doing it for 6 months, beating the hell out of a dog or lighting it up or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just little things that, make a difference.
Yeah, that's for sure. So with these dogs that you have, you got a pretty, I see, with the breeds that you have, they're all different. They're all different sizes. What are you feeding? That's something we get asked a lot about, different dog foods, raw, kibble, or what kind and what, ratios.
So I didn't realize how much a big dog was going to go through dog food until I got one. But I typically feed, like, if everything's like perfect, I like feeding Inukshuk. I used to split like a pallet with some people, but that's kind of gotten screwed up, and so I haven't wanted to buy like a whole pallet just myself yet, because that's a big chunk of change. So I usually feed Inukshuk or Victor if I can. That's usually the two that I go in between. My dogs aren't super picky. I usually try to feed like a 30-25 ratio, depending on. Sometimes I'll get like a different bag, like if they're not running a lot, not like it's such a high protein fat, But that's usually what my like go-to is, and sometimes I'll mix in some little vitamins and things like that when I think about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we do the same thing. It's like, and it wouldn't hurt that if we were way more consistent on some of the stuff, but
yeah,
Nathan does 90% of that, and he's pretty consistent. I am not. I'm like, hey.
Yeah, I'm bad. I'm pretty scatterbrained half the time, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put this in here. But I used to feed raw a lot, but it's just with 5 dogs and 2 little kids, it's the raws. It's hard to keep up with. So
I can imagine.
Yeah, and I like, honestly, some people are hardcore raw feeders, but I don't really notice too much of a difference between my dogs. So when they're on raw, or if they're, I like them on Inukshuk. But
I've never heard anything bad about Inukshuk.
Yeah, they do really well on it. I just got to get some more local people near me that want to split it with me.
Yeah, because like you said, I know it's a fairly expensive feed, and it's buying a pallet at a time. It's what, 40 bags, 50 bags or so.
Yeah, the pallet of Inukshuk is 65 bags. So
okay, yeah, it's smaller.
Yeah, they're smaller bags.
Yeah,
but like, and I noticed when I feed it, you feed like a smaller amount. The food's like really kind of compressed, and yeah, it's nice. I like it. But I like the Victor too. I feed that.
I used to feed a good bit of Victor until it just started going up more and more in price. And during that time, that's when we found out about the Showtime deal. And
really?
We started feeding it, and we done really, really well on it. And it just got to, like, we were dealers and all that. And it got to where it just didn't work out for us. And there's a couple other guys, it just got harder to get in our area.
Yeah. I'm not steady.
You want to have something that you can get that steadily,
Yeah, that's my biggest issue. And luckily none of my dogs are sensitive, to changing foods. So sometimes I'm like, you know what, this was on sale.
Oh, yeah.
This is what you guys are gonna get this month. So,
Nothing wrong with that.
and I'd say half of their calories probably comes from food that my toddler knocks off the high chair. So you know
Yeah.
what? I can't be. They're eating peanut butter jelly sandwiches and
So
all that
they're
stuff.
healthy. There's no doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. That's cool. So what with the kids? I mean, so where do you see yourself with that here? Let's say you got what, a 4-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
and
The other one will be 2 in April.
okay, so say you got about another 4 years. So where are you gonna be doing that when you got a 2-year-old that's 6, and you got another one that's 8 years old, and now they're like, Mom, I'm coming too.
Yeah, I know. My 4-year-old would probably, my 4-year-old likes the dogs, but she like really likes the hawk, which,
Really?
I'm fine with that, So she would probably go out now. It's just more keeping up on like little legs. So, if Austin comes out with me, well, like he can kind of, put one on his back, and then the 4-year-old can she gets distracted easily. So she's like looking at rocks, and I'm, chasing a bird off through the woods. So it's definitely harder, but it's nice having them experience it too. She's like a real big fan of Darby the hound, so she always talks about raccoons and stuff like that, but it's always a little bit past her bedtime. So maybe one night I'm gonna let her stay up and come out hunting with the hound, because
that'd be awesome.
yeah, she always talks about catching raccoons with Darby, so it's kind of cute.
Yeah, there's no doubt it has to be. I mean,
Yeah.
any small child like that gets it, because the way they speak and the way that their thought process works. I'm sure there's some stuff that they say which I've had a bunch of kids in my life, so my kids would talk the craziest shit you ever heard in your life, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And
I
it's
know,
so
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, she talks about them catching raccoons. And one time my sister-in-law had like a little Teckle white-haired dachshund. So my dogs had caught a groundhog earlier that day, and so her dog was a puppy. We were like kind of dragging the groundhog on like a leash for the puppy to sort of play with. And Lyra was probably like 2, and so she's dragging this dead groundhog and this puppy's following it, and I'm like, to us that's cute. To outsiders that might be like, ooh, what the hell's going on there?
Oh, yeah.
But to us we're like, oh, it's just different.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I wouldn't want to be any other way, but
Yeah.
I get it from I try to look at everything from all points of view. I try to be a realist about everything, and there are times where I've done stuff and I watch a video and I'm like, ooh, I don't want nobody else to see that. I can appreciate it, but it's like, if I didn't know what was happening, I'd be like, oh shit, these guys are crazy. Something's wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
And so what kind of hunting rig do you got? Like, what do you hunt out of? Do y'all have like a dog trailer, just a dog box?
I have a minivan.
Really? Hey, I didn't have a minivan before. Come on,
I love this mini. I was always a minivan hater, and I love this thing.
Really?
It's like so I have a Chrysler Pacifica, so it has the stone, so the seats can fold into the floor. So I have I got 2 car seats, and then I got like dog kennels in the very back. And that thing's got all the room. It's all-wheel drive. I'll like drive it back through hayfields. I'm sure.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I love the thing. Maybe, once they're a little bit older, I'll get something else, but I can't complain with this. The minivan is pretty pimping.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure like the one time I had my tire had like a hole in it, or like the sidewall, I don't know, something, it had like a bubble or something. I had to get a replacement tire. Well, the night before I had taken Darby out, and I like had drove it through the hay, like through the cow field. So there was like cow poop like all like in the fender wells. So then the next day I dropped it off to Walmart to like get a tire replaced. I'm sure they were like, what in the hell is this minivan? Like, why is there mud and cow poop all over this thing?
It smells like cow poop under here, guys.
I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Then there's that one guy in the corner. He's like, oh, that's Hannah Doll. She's got them little terriers. She's that girl.
Like,
she's that girl on Instagram with a hawk and that coon dog. That's her.
They're like, there's dog kennels on the back. I hope they can maybe put 2 and 2 together, but
Yeah, it maybe.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'd like to get. I can haul. I have a little like I have a trailer set up on or like a hitch on there, so I can get it. I want to get a dog trailer. But I gotta
You need
put
to
that past Austin
you
first.
need to measure the inside of that van because I'm sitting there thinking about it. It's hilarious. And I'll send you a picture. I have a 5-bay box that was built for an SUV or a van.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and look, I'm dead serious. It's out in the yard. It's black diamond cut. It has one side. It's built for like people who go digging and they have a lurcher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got one side, like you could put that coon hound on this side and have extra room. And then you have
Oh, wow.
you have 4 smaller holes that you put your terriers and smaller dogs. I could put my small cur dogs in the bottom, and then on the top I got 2 holes for the terriers.
Yeah, that's nice. I kind of thought about getting something, try to get something like custom made for it.
Well,
I just have like
somebody
the
had this
rufflings
one
in there
custom-
right now.
Somebody had this one custom made, and I wound up buying it when I seen it. I was like, dude, I need that. And the guy had it for
Yeah.
sale, and I drove to Galveston. Yeah, Galveston, Texas. All the way to
Oh, wow.
Galveston Bay. Yeah. Like I was actually going to Texas for something already, but I made the arrangement to stop and pick it up. And I think Jacob Zachary was going to buy it, but it was big. They have like a smaller SUV,
Really?
and it was just a little too big for it. And I told him, I was like, look, dude, like I'll sell it, cheap or whatever. Somebody needs to use it instead of just sitting in the yard. But
Yeah, I think
it's
it's
pretty
like-
cool.
Yeah, you should send me a picture of it.
Yeah.
And then because then Austin's like getting a new truck, and I'm like, well, like look at these dog boxes, Austin.
Yes. Now you get you a
Like look
big,
what you can put on the truck. You can fit your tools in here for work, and then also we can put some dogs in there.
yeah.
Like I'm trying not to take over your truck, but we can share.
I'm sure he don't care. He don't. About it. He's all about it. He's like, you know what? She's happy. Happy wife, happy life.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
That's
He's like,
pretty
she's a little weird, but I'll stick with her.
cool. Well, the picture that I seen of him holding the baby upside down, the baby doll.
Yeah.
It was when I first seen it, I already knew what it was. But as soon as I seen it, I said, "Oh my Lord!" I said, "He is crazy." And,
Yeah, he's
I was like,
just holding her like a fish upside
Yes.
down.
and there was so much.
Yeah, his grandma was like flabbergasted by that picture. I'm like, she loves it. They love being flipped around.
It was so funny.
Yeah, no,
That's
he's
hilarious.
good.
Well, on I was trying to think of what else I had down here. See what all we did. We done covered a bunch of stuff. On your social media and stuff, you got a pretty good following there, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of just post my dogs on stuff. I've posted them on TikTok before. There's a good amount of people on the TikTok, but I just honestly I don't really feel like keeping up with it.
Oh,
I like
know.
posting on Instagram. I can just post pictures and stuff like that. Yeah, TikTok's like the Wild West.
Yeah.
It's either like good or it's bad. You get just like annoying, like just for mommy comments, and so I'll get on TikTok and like watch videos, but I really don't post on there very much. But yeah,
I just started putting a few things up there just to be active in it, a little bit. And I was like,
yeah.
I like Instagram myself.
Yeah, so do I. I like posting the pictures. I like, TikTok's like fun, but yeah, if you post any picture of like a dog in a hole, the half the comments, like I had one that got like 7 million views, and it was
Wow.
like it was me like pulling Heidi out of a hole, and it was like she was like in the hole, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're recording and not helping the dog. They're like, is the dog okay? I'm like, oh my God, do you not people not like understand context at all? Like
Oh, yeah.
obviously the dog's fine.
Well, so
But yeah,
I had one guy put a picture, or we put a video up, and this was actually on Instagram, I think. Or it might have been, I got it linked to Facebook as well, so it goes to both of them. And
yeah.
we had just picked up these puppies, and they were Cuban curs, and they're really long, like their body's
Mhm.
long, and they've got a lot of bird dog look into them. I think the recipe is like it's English, like some kind of pointer, some greyhound, and it's pretty much a wild dog
Yeah.
in Cuba. Well, first thing a guy does, he was like, do y'all ever talk about feeding dogs on the podcast? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, look at that puppy. I was like, I got these puppies yesterday from somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Well, you could see the hip points on one puppy from the way it was, but you also didn't take into consideration that that's the way the puppies are built. Like, I don't run,
Yeah.
you know, we got these certain dogs. And like you said, it was people who have hunting dogs that were doing this. I was like, private message, I was like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
He was like, well, I was just saying, he said, I was doing that to show you that how quick somebody can notice that and cause an issue. I was like, well, nobody else said anything but you.
That was you. People get, they get big in their britches because they're behind a phone tapping away.
Yeah. I was like, I was just like, so that's why I don't even want to interact with a lot of stuff. Like you said,
yeah,
I can go post my picture on Instagram and just move on.
Yep.
And I go watch videos on TikTok. I did the same thing, but it's like, I don't.
Yeah.
And Facebook,
I
don't really get on Facebook much at all anymore.
Yeah. I usually use Facebook like family stuff. And then I got an Instagram page for dogs and falconry. And then just to try to keep it separate so I'm not like pestering everybody that I'm like friends with and family members, like with a whole barrage of dog and hunting stuff, So I try to keep it like a little separate.
I got you.
Just because not everybody wants to see that.
Well, everybody that's friends with me, they're going to see it.
Yeah.
That's what I tell them. My mom said something one time. She was like, is that the only thing you ever post on Facebook? I was like, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I like.
That's the only thing I do. That's what I do 7 days a week.
Yeah, mine's like hunting dogs and some like pictures of my kids.
And somebody said something about, I can't remember who it was. They said something about me not answering the phone or responding on their post. And my son Luke got on there. He was like, he didn't even call me for my birthday. He's my dad. He's like, he was too busy hunting. And he's like, he won't even respond to this. And I didn't even see it till my wife told. She was like, you see where they're talking shit about you? I was like, well, your own kid. I was like, oh, okay. I don't care.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I was like, I got to go run dogs. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
We can talk about it some other
time.
time. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, you got anything else you want to talk about, Hannah? We've been jacking about an hour and a half on this.
I know we have. It's went by fast.
Yeah, really
I know.
has.
I think we kind of, covered most everything.
Well, we try not to get super technical on this. And there are podcasts out there that do that, and that's what they're good for. That's what they're good at.
Yep.
Like I said, we do this kind of just like I said, just shooting the breeze and kind of getting to know everybody. And it puts it out there for other people, and folks seem to really like it. But there's information that's tied in there as well. And so if people that really listen to it, they listen to every episode, they're like, and I've had quite a few listeners, they'll call me or message me, and they're like, dude, we thought y'all were just talking trash, and then all of a sudden there'll be something really good about, how to properly do this or look for this in a dog or this is what's wrong with my Garmin system and stuff. And they're like, man, it's just crazy. I was like, it's called real life.
Yep.
That's the way we try to do it. So, well, I know you got those babies and you got a husband and all that good stuff. And it's been a long day. It's been a happy New Year day, 2025.
The holidays. I don't even know what day it is. Like between Christmas and New Year's, it's sort of like just a big old blur.
Yeah, it has been. But honestly, we really appreciate you taking time and doing this because it's holidays, and those are meant to be with family and loved ones, and not talking to some rednecks over here in another state about hunting. But we do really appreciate you.
No, it's been fun,
and we're gonna keep following you and keep watching you on Instagram and all that stuff, and hopefully we'll get to see you at some terrier trials pretty soon. You and Austin,
I know you guys need to come. I know he wants to. He wants to go hog hunting really bad, so maybe we'll have drop the kids off with my mom and come down hog hunting.
Y'all are more than welcome anytime, and I wholeheartedly mean that. And you just let me know when y'all got a weekend or a week or 2 weeks. I don't care, however long, whatever. Because we did, like, this is what we do. Like I'm telling you, that's what we do. Our dogs suck, but we have fun.
for sure. Yeah. No, yeah, we really want it's on the bucket list. So,
Right.
and he wants to do it. So if he wants to do it, then, I'm down for it.
Nice. So, all right. Well, tell everybody we said hello. Tell Mr. Austin we said hello, and that we're going to get a trip set up for sure.
Okay, I will.
All right. You have a good night, Nana.
All right, you guys too.
All right. Thank you.
All right,
All
thanks.
right, bye-bye. Sweet. All right. There's the first one in the books for 2025, homies. We started off with a bang. With a big bang. Yeah, Miss Hannah has some of the coolest little dogs there are. And like, she is very, very well versed in these dogs.
Mm-hmm.
She ain't no joke. She ain't no bullshitting. Like, she knows what's happening. But Roach is probably one of my favorite. I ain't going to say probably. He's within the top 3 of all time. And I've seen a lot of dogs like that I just like. Like, he's just a cool little dude. Like, for real.
And he's handsome.
Dude, he is such a good looking dog. Like, I mean, it sucks because it's like these top few dogs that we have, ain't none of them mine. So, all right, y'all. Hey, we're going to keep it rolling in 2025. We're going to keep hammering down. We're going to keep rolling. So y'all make sure y'all interact with us. Give us a call. Participate. Get on the social media stuff. Do all that. If you need some advertising done, holler at Nate. Holler at me or whatever. Mainly holler at Nate because he's the one that handles all that stuff. If you want to throw your kennel out there or if you just want to get a shout out and all that stuff, I can be bought and bought cheap, baby. We love y'all. Keep it going. We'll see y'all till the next one.
Thank you. Hope y'all enjoyed that episode. Stay tuned for our new episodes every Monday and Wednesday. For questions, advertising, or just to chat, email DixieDoggers01@gmail.com.